right? So I'll say that again. The question is, on what merit do we legitimize our morality? Okay. Now, in an attempt to discuss how we legitimize, quote unquote, our morality, Nietzsche wants to look at the prevailing, at his time, moral system. And that system is the system of Christian morality, right? Christian morality at the time, at his time, and arguably even still to this day, was the prevailing system of assessing moral worth, assessing moral appropriateness, of assessing the morality of an action, right? So with that sort of background, we'll revisit this in a little bit more complicated fashion in a second. But with that in the background, now we can start to sort of see what Nietzsche is attempting to do. So the first thing that we see is note 1 under action and religion. In itself, this is a direct quote from Nietzsche, so quote, in itself, religion has absolutely nothing to do with morality, right? Religion has nothing to do with morality, right? So the idea that there is a connection, right, that there's a connection right? The idea that there's a direct connection between religion and morality, I'm sure everyone would say, yeah, clearly, religion is a dogma wherein the constructs of morality are justified. And in a sense, that is the function of religion. Nietzsche is attempting to challenge this conception, right? And he says directly in note 146, in itself, religion in itself, not the application of religion. This is important, right? In itself, religion has nothing to do with morality, right? Okay, so that's the first thing. Number 2, religions are destroyed, and this is note 151, and I actually want to read some of this, so actually let me read it from the notes and then I'll pick it up in the book. Note number 2, religions are destroyed by belief in morality. And that should be obvious, but if it's not, I'll come back, right? So religions are destroyed by beliefs in morality. If you don't know, think about it, and then I'll give you the answer in a second, but you should know. The Christian moral God is not tenable. Hence, atheism, in quotes, as if there could be no other kind of God, right? So let's go through that again. So the first part of it is religions are destroyed by belief in morality. Well, obviously we see how that happens, right? Again, I'm not going to rehash. We posit the highest moral values. We fail to live up to the standards of those highest moral values. Those highest moral values are associated to religious beliefs. Once the moral values collapse, the religion collapses, and the overarching sort of orchestrator of the religion, the deity, God, collapses with the whole system. So it's not necessarily that there's a sequence, but if you just wanted to sort of sequentially figure out sort of the collapse of God, it's the collapse of morality, the collapse of religion, the collapse of God, if you will. And that's sort of just, sort of a gross generalization, but I think that's sort of good imagery. Okay, so that explains the first part. Religions are destroyed by belief in morality, hence, nihilism, the whole point of European nihilism. And we talked about this ad nauseum. Next part, the Christian moral God is not tenable for those reasons. Hence, atheism, the consequence of this nihilistic, sort of perverse nihilistic, or at least, rudimentary nihilistic account. Hence, atheism evolves as a consequence, as if there could be no other kind of God. Okay, now that's what I found pretty interesting, and I actually want to look at note 151. And I'm in the, you guys, who are following along know that I'm using the Kaufman translation, and there might be some distinctions in my translation versus your translation, but I think they're probably minimal. So 151. So here's the whole claim. Religions are destroyed by belief in morality. The Christian moral God is not tenable. Hence, atheism, as if there could be no other kind of God. Similarly, culture is destroyed by belief in morality, right? Similarly, culture is destroyed by belief in morality. For when one discovers the necessary conditions out of which alone it can grow, one no longer wants it, right? So that once we recognize that culturally speaking, morality contaminates our culture, we pull away from culture, and in quotes, or in parentheses, he has Buddhism. So he's referencing Buddhism in that sense, right? So we understand that with respect to action, and I haven't tied this into action yet, but we recognize that religion and morality for Nietzsche are not interchangeable. He says that explicitly. The second thing that we recognize is that religion is actually destroyed by a belief in morality. So he takes it a step further. It's not just that they're not interchangeable, but that this is destroyed by this, right? So that we go to the next step, that morality destroys religion, right? Religions are destroyed by a belief in morality. I'm not going to jump ahead. For those of you who have read Twilight of the Idols, and even the Antichrist, I think he discusses this a bit. But for those of you who know Nietzsche, you might know where this is going. I'm not going to get to that now. But religion and morality are not interchangeable. Morality, for Nietzsche, actually goes a step further. Our belief in morality goes a step further, and it destroys this institution of religion. Number 3. Now here's where it gets very, very interesting, right? This is a direct quote. For action has no meaning. Action binds one to existence, but all existence has no meaning. What in the world does that mean? Right? Again, most of what I'm doing, all of what I'm doing, is my interpretation. There might be various interpretations of this text based on the translation that you have, based on your worldview, your world experience, but this is my interpretation of this. 4. Action has no meaning. Action binds one to existence. Okay, so, Bob is bound to existence insofar as Bob has the ability to relocate an object through space. Right? So I'm a member of existence insofar as, in a very sort of Cartesian, sort of simplistic sense, extension is a facet of corporeal substance, right? Which basically means, for those of you who, I didn't mean to get all technical, the ability to be extended in space, to occupy space, is a facet of existing physical stuff, right? Is basically the account. So action binds us to existence. Duh. I mean, that's as old as philosophy. But all existence has no meaning. Now the question is, how did he make the leap from being bound to existence, but then denying that existence has no meaning? So this is very important, and I'm not trying to overcomplicate this, but I want to make sure that this is clear because it's going to have ramifications. For action has no meaning. Action binds one to existence. So imagine that this is the box of existence. And here I am, and I'm bound. There's no escaping. I'm sort of stuck in existence, right? I'm immobilized, if you will, in existence. I'm bound to existence. For action has no meaning. Action binds one to existence. I am, in a sense, exactly like this book, because what the book and I share is that we're bound to existence. We are corporeal objects extended in space, in time. But all existence has no meaning. Now, the reason why all existence has no meaning is because what I've done is I've projected out, right? The nihilist has projected out and denied. Remember, we've gone through this a lot of times. I've stepped outside of existence and looked back with reproach on existence. I've rejected existence. I've separated myself from existence for what? So I've denied right? I've denied existence, right? For what? For the afterlife, right? For this other transcendental reality, right? I've denied existence for this. I mean, that's a pretty bad, drawing. I don't know how else to draw it. I could probably just write it, and you'd probably be better to write it, right? For the other world or the afterlife, right? So I've denied existence. Why have I denied existence? I've denied it for the afterlife. For action has no meaning. Action binds one to existence, but all action has, but all existence has no meaning. If all of existence has no meaning for me, right? If all of this world has no meaning for me because I have denied this world and I am gazing, perpetually fixated on the afterlife, then what possible contribution can I make in this world? What can I possibly do? All my acts in this world will be in preparation for some other world. So in a sense, the actions that I do are a matter of passing, nothing more than time, right? In anticipation of the inevitability, which is death, right?